Hello, everyone. It's Lise, and I am here with a live episode of the Going Alcohol Free podcast with Lise. And so here I am, and this is the first time I've gone live on YouTube publicly. So I just decided to record this episode live. And so if you are here, say hello in the chat. I didn't announce this, so I don't think anybody's going to be here. But if you're here, go ahead and say hi in the chat. And I've got an agenda for us today. So here is what's going to happen for today's episode. I just want to say hello, and it's great to be back. And then answer the question like, where have I been? Why haven't I posted? Or posted an episode? And then I have for what's going to happen, what's the future of this podcast, and what am I thinking about going forward with this podcast? What is it going to look like? Because I want to be here consistently, and I haven't been, in case you haven't noticed. And I want to be here consistently. So I'm going to answer the question, where have I been? And then how will this podcast go on going forward? And today I have a listener Q&A. So a listener Q&A, and if you are here and you're listening, there is a form down below where you can ask a question anonymously, and I'll answer it right here, right now. Or if you are listening to the replay or on the podcast, you can just fill out that form, and I will be answering your questions really about anything, about going alcohol free or anything like that. Or, if you have a question for me, I'm happy to answer that too. So I have it right in front of me here. If you submit something, I will see it. So go ahead and say hi in the chat if you're here. And okay, so now I just want to say, hey, remember to subscribe. So if you are listening on the podcast on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, come over to YouTube and subscribe, or remember to follow the podcast on your favorite podcast player. I am doing this live on YouTube, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my thoughts about going live on YouTube in just a second. All right, so as I mentioned, there is a Q&A form down in my bio on YouTube. It will also be on the podcast as well, and in the description of this video. So if you happen to be here and you happen to be watching, you want to submit a question, you can go ahead and do that. And I know that I just said this, but I'm just saying it again one more time, that the form is there, and I want to answer your questions. I want to give you what you want. And that leads me into what is the future of this podcast. So, well, actually, before that, let me just share where I've been. So I think the last time I recorded an episode was in July, I think. No, I did one in September, but I made it unlisted. And that was about if people wanted to join my free community. At that time, I had a free Going Alcohol Free Together community. You might have been a part of that. And if you were, I so appreciate you. And we did a 21-day boot camp where I helped people go alcohol free. And let me just tell you, those people that joined that, and it was free to join, those people that joined that and that participated actively, they were able to cut back their drinking and or go alcohol free. And if you're listening to me, I am so proud of you for doing that. And so that's kind of where I was. And we did a sober October as well. And then the holidays came. And so I was really focused on helping everybody in that community go alcohol free. And it took time away from the podcast here. So I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I'm still here, and I still love you guys. I know that you're listening. I can see the numbers. So I know that you guys are still finding me and getting to know who I am. And I really do want to help you go alcohol free. I mean, it is the best decision that you could ever make. It's the best decision I ever made. And I know if you ask anybody who has gone alcohol free, that they will tell you the same thing. So it will change your life for sure. But if you would have asked me before 2020 would I ever go alcohol free, I wasn't ready to go alcohol free. I just wanted to cut back. So I would have said no. But if you are on a cutback journey, like I was on that cutback journey, right? I just wanted to cut back on alcohol. I wanted to drink less alcohol. If that's you, keep going on that route because you never know where it will lead you. And it just like led me to become alcohol free. Like it just led me. And think about a smoker. So smokers, I was never a smoker. I never really smoked cigarettes. It wasn't my thing. But think of a smoker, and a smoker wants to cut back on how much they smoke. And so they cut back and they cut back, and eventually they end up quitting, even though maybe they never had the intention of quitting, and they end up quitting. Well, that's kind of what happened to me too. But I was doing a lot of work on myself. Um, so if you listen to episode 33 or 34, which is my story of how I went alcohol free, you'll notice that I was doing a lot of work on myself, and I never ever planned on going alcohol free. But you can listen to that story. Some of you have already listened to that episode, but I do encourage you to go back and listen to that. Listen to those 2 episodes. Make sure you listen to episode 34 because that's how I actually tell you how I ended up losing the desire for alcohol. So go and listen to that if you haven't already. Okay, so you guys, so I want to just tell you that I have a question here from somebody who submitted a question. They wrote me an email and they submitted this, and I thought this would be a really cool idea to answer your questions on the podcast. And so that's what I want to do. And so I've created a way for you to ask a question to me anonymously. You don't have to include your name or your email or anything like that, because I know some of you are embarrassed about asking questions or getting help or anything like that. And I can tell you that there's absolutely no reason to be embarrassed about cutting back on alcohol or wanting to get help or asking questions about it. There's a lot of podcasts out there that will help you, but I just want to make this one a little bit different in that I really want to give you what you want. I want to answer your questions. I want to I do have a lot in my mind of how I want to help you. And I'll continue to share that every week. But the future of this podcast looks like this. So I want to go live weekly with you guys. And I know like probably nobody is watching now, and that's okay. I didn't make any announcement about this, but I want to go live and do a live podcast episode and record it and then just put it out there onto Apple and Spotify, and I'm recording this on YouTube. So that is the plan. That's what I want to do. 1 episode a week, answer your questions, and let's just go from there. So I do have a question, and I'm going to put it on the screen here so you guys can see it. Okay, so it was a very simple question, but it was a really good question. And I know that some of the people that were in my community and my coaching program, they asked a similar questions as well. So the question is, how do you stay alcohol free when going out or hanging out with friends or going to social events? And I would also say, like, maybe some of you have work events where there's alcohol. Maybe you have clients you have to entertain and they might be drinking, and maybe you're on that cutback journey and you don't want to, or maybe you're alcohol free, but you feel pressured that you have to drink. So let's talk about this. So let me tell you what I do first, and then I'll give you some tips about maybe what you guys can do. For me, okay, let's go back to using the example of a smoker. So let's say that I was a smoker. I never was, but let's just hypothetically say I was a smoker. So I was a smoker and then I quit smoking because I did it for my health, or I did it for my lungs, or for whatever reason I did it. So if I was around other people that were smoking, I wouldn't feel the pressure to smoke because I did it for my health. And I want you to think about quitting alcohol. So if you became a non-smoker, in my hypothetical example here, if you became a non-smoker, then you wouldn't probably feel pressured to smoke another cigarette because you already became a non-smoker. Well, it's the same thing with becoming a non-drinker. I just consider myself a non-drinker. I don't even say the word sober or anything like that. I just say I'm a non-drinker. And I leave it at that. And nobody questions it. It's like saying you're a non-smoker and somebody hands you once says, "Hey, you want a cigarette?" And you just say, "Oh, no, thanks. I'm a non-smoker." For those of you that are non-smokers, you don't have a problem saying, "Oh, no, thanks. I'm a non-smoker." Well, the same thing goes. You can just say, and this is what I say, "No, thanks. I'm a non-drinker. I'm just a non-drinker." You know, I'll have sparkling water. And honestly, I don't really drink my calories. So I drink water and decaf coffee. And I do drink kombucha every now and again. Not all the time, but I do like kombucha. And so I don't really drink my calories when I go out to eat. And if I go out with friends, I just drink water. I just drink water. I was out with a friend the other day. If you're listening or watching, hello, friend. You know who you are. And we talked about how I used to drink. I used to have Sunday fun day. It was a lot of fun, and I just could not imagine football or Sundays without drinking. But I just don't think about it anymore. Anyway, we were talking and we were both laughing about how if we had known each other back when I was drinking, like, we would have been drinking that day, but I don't drink anymore. And so I just ordered a decaf coffee and she ordered an orange juice. And I told her, I was like, you can drink if you want to. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I just have lost the desire for alcohol. And I know that I make it sound so simple, but so I've been alcohol free in November of 2025. It will be 5 years. So, over 4 years. Not even one sip. And I want you guys to remember, I never tell myself that I can't have I never tell myself that I can't have it. I can have alcohol whenever I choose to. I can. I can have a glass of wine. I can have a glass of Prosecco. I can have anything I want. I just choose not to. And so when I'm out with friends or in a social event or at a party or out to eat, I just order water or coffee. And I gave up caffeinated drinks too. So I just drink decaf coffee or water. I do like Perrier sparkling waters and things like that. And, you can order, you have to figure out what works for you. Like that works for me is just telling people I'm a non drinker. It's not a big deal. I just don't want to drink. I'm just a non drinker. And if you're feeling pressured to drink, that pressure to drink is really coming from you because most likely, nobody is saying to you that, hey, you have to drink a glass of wine or you're going to lose your job, or you have to drink with me or you're going to, or I'm not going to be your friend. Most likely, everything that you're thinking is in your head. You're making up a story in your head like, if I don't drink, what are they going to think of me? Well, who cares what they think of you? If they're your true friend, then they're going to probably be in awe of you. Like, how can you go alcohol free? You never were alcohol free before, or how can you go without alcohol? You can just say, I'm just going to do it. And here's the other thing, though, I want you to think about is that if you are still on that journey, like for me, I just don't even really have to think about it. Like when I'm in the grocery store, I don't get triggered by looking at the the wine bottles or Prosecco bottles or anything like that. I saw my favorite bottle of Prosecco the other day, and I was like, oh, there was my favorite bottle of Prosecco that I used to drink. And I had no urge or no feelings about it. And it's just because I've been doing a lot of work. I've just changed my thoughts about alcohol. I just don't think about it anymore. I like my life better without it. And you will too. But back to what I was saying though. Um, I was saying that you have to decide what works for you. But one of the things, if you're on this alcohol free journey, is you have to make a decision. So before you go out to that party or that social event or that work event, if you truly want to be a non drinker at that event, you have to decide in advance. I am a non drinker today. I will stay alcohol free today. When somebody asks me, I'm just say, oh, no, thanks. I'm a non drinker. Just like as if somebody asked you if you wanted a cigarette, you say, no, thank you. I'm a non smoker. If you're a non smoker, you wouldn't have a hard time saying no to a cigarette because you're a non smoker. The same thing goes with drinking. No, thanks. I'm a non drinker. Or, and you don't even have to say, I'm not drinking tonight. You can just say, I'm a non drinker. Or you could say, I'm not drinking tonight. Um, and you can say why. I mean, why do you not want to drink that tonight? Because maybe you have to get up early the next day. Maybe you have to give a presentation the next day. Maybe you have to go to work the next day. Maybe you have to go to the gym the next day. I don't know. Just be honest with why you don't want it. Maybe you just say, I don't feel like drinking today. They will respect you for that. Your friends, your family, your coworkers, because not everybody has the control or the self control or the self discipline to do that. And I'm telling you, if you practice this muscle, practice using this muscle over and over again, it just gets easier and easier and easier to use. For example, and I'm sure that I've told this on the podcast before, and I don't remember what episode, but one of the first decisions that I made but this was the very first decision I made when I decided that I needed to make a change and I wanted to make a change, is that I had programmed myself every time I went into a restaurant to eat, and my partner and I, we eat out a lot, but I had to order a glass of wine, and it had to be a restaurant that sold alcohol. I did not want to go to a dry restaurant or a restaurant that did not serve alcohol. First thing I would do is I would get anxious. I want the waiter to come up or the bartender to come up and ask me, hey, can I get you something to drink? I'm like, yes, I want a glass of wine. And I just like would get excited and anxious as we're driving to the restaurant and couldn't wait for that glass of wine. Same with driving home from work, going to the liquor store, same thing. But when I quit drinking, I wasn't working at a corporate job anymore. I was working at home. So what I did was when I walked into the restaurant, I had told myself, okay, I'm not going to be drinking in restaurants anymore. Well, I can drink before I go to the restaurant and when I come home from the restaurant, but I'm not going to drink in restaurants anymore. And it wasn't about a money thing or anything like that. It was just like, okay, I can still drink. I'm just not going to drink in the restaurant. And from that moment on, I have never drank in a restaurant the minute I made that decision. So it's about making decisions and sticking to them. And so I was really, really uncomfortable though. I really wanted that glass of wine. And instead, I ordered water and I drank the water. And after about 10 minutes, I was fine. But I really wanted to order that glass of wine as soon as I got in there. Now, it took me about 15 times to go to a restaurant and just continue to order water. So for like the next 10 or 15 times that we went to a restaurant, I just ordered water. And then it just got to the point where I had programmed myself or reprogrammed or retrained myself, my brain, my mind, that it's just easy. I just go sit at the bar and order water. And we belly up to the bar when we go out to eat. He doesn't really drink either. And I don't drink, and we belly up to the bar and we'll eat our dinner up there. And I have no problem watching other people drink. I don't feel deprived. And it's just because as I said, I keep mentioning this and I apologize, but it's just because I think differently about alcohol anymore. It's like if you're a non smoker and everybody around you is smoking despite the smoke, you just don't think about wanting to have a cigarette. Well, everybody around me can be drinking, and I just don't think about wanting to have a glass of wine or prosecco or a white claw or anything. I just don't think about it. I just have no thought, zero thoughts about it. And instead, I am thinking about how amazing, and I'm not saying this to brag because I'm not bragging, but how amazing my life has become since leaving the alcohol behind and becoming a non drinker. And so, what I want to continue to do is to help you all become a non drinker or go alcohol free, as this podcast states. And I want to answer your questions. I really want to help you with whatever you're facing, whatever challenge you're facing. And so, this is just for educational purposes. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but you know, I am a life coach. And, I do think it's because of the tools and the things that I'm teaching you all. I want to teach you all as to why I changed how I think about alcohol. And I want that for you too. I genuinely, genuinely want that for you. So, that was our first Q&A, listener Q&A. I really hope that you all will consider submitting a question. It is totally anonymous. You can include your name if you want to, but you don't have to. And I want to answer your questions on the podcast. And hopefully, next week, when I go live again here and record this episode, hopefully we'll have some more people joining, and that would be awesome. I'd love to just have a community here of people who want to change their lives, because it will. It will change your life. It will change your health. It'll change your relationships. It'll change your money. It'll change so many things. So with that, I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And there's going to be another form down below if you want to get on my email list. I want to send you a gift, which is the 3 books that changed my life, that changed how I think about alcohol. And they're not quit lit books. I never even heard of those before. I so I never read any of those, and the books that I read are not those. And so if you would like to get that little gift, then jump on my email list, and I'd love to send that list to you. All right, my friends, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you wherever you are in this world for listening. Please share this if this was helpful to you. Please share this with your friends, and I will see you all next week. All right, bye for now.